The story is set in Italy. In a quiet courtyard, there are some mafia members who are not moving. A woman named Bianca is there too. She talks privately with her boss, Don Balbano, and bravely announces a war between two mafia families. Afterward, she tries to call a middle-aged mother named Kristen Balbano, but Kristen is busy getting her son, Dominic, ready for college, so she doesn't answer the call. Kristen lives a regular life in suburban America. She's married to Paul, who is in a band, but underneath the normal surface, Kristen faces challenges at her job in pharmaceutical marketing. Her male colleagues often say hurtful and sexist things about her work. One day, after coming home from work, Kristen finally picks up Bianca's call. She initially says no to going to Rome for her grandfather Don Balbano's funeral. She thinks about her job and her commitment to her husband. Little does she know that her life is going to change dramatically. Kristen goes downstairs to ask Paul to lower the loud music, but she discovers her husband is having an affair with their son's school counselor. This betrayal hurts Kristen deeply and leaves her feeling broken. To find comfort and strength, she decides to take a self-defense class with her loyal friend Jenny, who is an international lawyer. During this important moment, Kristen shares with Jenny that she wants to divorce Paul and that Bianca has offered her an interesting opportunity. Jenny, a source of strength and support, encourages Kristen to focus on herself for once. She convinces Kristen to embrace the chance to go to Italy. Kristen, after some initial hesitation, agrees to the trip. She is not only tempted by the idea of escaping her failing marriage, but also by the appeal of Italy, a place she has always wanted to visit, with the promise of meeting handsome Italian men. When Kristen arrives in Rome, she meets a charming Italian man named Lorenzo. They have a brief connection, but it's interrupted when Lorenzo's aunt, Esmeralda, urgently calls him. As they part ways, Kristen and Lorenzo exchange phone numbers, promising to meet again later. What Kristen doesn't know is that two men named Dante and Aldo come to pick her up. She doesn't realize that these men are not just drivers, but dedicated bodyguards working for the mafia. In a hurry to get to Don Balbano's funeral, the bodyguards quickly take Kristen through the famous tourist spots in Rome. She doesn't have time to enjoy the beautiful sights because she's busy changing into her funeral clothes. She misses most of the city's wonderful views. Eventually, they arrive at a small church in a town near Rome, just in time for Don Balbano's final goodbye. It's here that Kristen finally meets Bianca, the mysterious woman who invited her. Bianca introduces Kristen to Fabrizio Balbano, Don Balbano's grandnephew, who seems distant and mysterious. On the day of the funeral, Don Balbano's casket is solemnly carried through the narrow streets of the small town. Kristen asks Bianca about her grandfather, and she finds out that he was a skilled winemaker and a man of many talents. But the peaceful procession suddenly turns into chaos when there is a loud noise of gunfire. Bullets start flying around the coffin, and the people carrying it run away in fear. It's a dangerous fight between the Balbano family and of strong rivals, the Romanos. In the middle of all the confusion, Dante, one of the people protecting Kristen, shows how skilled he is by making two Romano bikers crash. This stops the Romano hitmen for a little while, but they keep chasing on foot because they really want revenge. Kristen is scared but determined. She stays close to the Balbano family and finally finds safety in a car that quickly drives away. When they get to the big Balbano mansion, Kristen wants to know what's going on with all the crazy stuff she just saw. Bianca tells her that her grandfather was killed by the Romano family during a meeting, and Don Romano himself died too. To prove it, Bianca shows Kristen a video her grandfather left behind. In the video, he talks about how the Romanos are responsible for her father's death. It's a big shock when Don Balbano, who is dying, asks Kristen to become the new leader of the Balbano family, with Bianca as her trusted friend. But Fabrizio doesn't like this idea because he wants the power for himself. But Kristen just wants to go back to her normal life at home, after having such a great time in Italy. Just when she gets a call from Lorenzo, Dante stops her and breaks her phone. He wants her to remember the new responsibilities that come with her new position. Kristen really wants to leave the Balbano estate and be free, but Bianca says that Kristen is in a foreign place without a working phone, and the Romano family is still a threat to her. Bianca suggests a compromise that Kristen can show she's trustworthy by doing something nice, like stomping grapes to make wine. Bianca gives Kristen a safe phone to contact Lorenzo, but there's a condition. Kristen has to agree to meet with the new leader of the Romano family. Bianca hopes Kristen can make a peace proposal to stop the fighting between the two families. Kristen agrees reluctantly. Bianca helps her change her appearance so she looks like a woman from a mafia family. With Dante and Aldo, she goes to a restaurant for the important meeting. She's polite to the server, and she sits across from the new Don Romano, a charismatic man named Carlo. Carlo's presence gets Kristen's attention, and this unexpected encounter might change their lives. Even though Kristen offers a piece of Balbano land to Carlo, he doesn't seem very excited about it. As the night goes on and they have more drinks, Kristen starts feeling the effects of the alcohol, and her thinking gets a bit fuzzy. Carlo takes this chance to charm her more, and their business meeting turns into a surprising romantic moment. In her slightly tipsy state, Kristen agrees to go to Carlo's hotel room for more drinks, with the understanding that things might get intimate. They both have their bodyguards with them, and the bodyguards secretly check them for hidden weapons to make sure it's safe. Then the bodyguards are told to wait outside the bedroom, so Kristen and Carlo can have some privacy. Just when things seem to be getting more intimate, Kristen comes up with an excuse to go to the bathroom. During Kristen's brief absence, Carlo secretly takes out a hidden bottle of poison and pours it into her drink without her knowing. Kristen comes back, drinks the poisoned drink, and continues talking to Carlo. He heartlessly hints that she's going to die because of the poison, but it's actually Carlo who's dying because Kristen cleverly switched their drinks when he was busy calling his bodyguards. Kristen realizes what she's done, and panic sets in, but Carlo doesn't make it. A big fight breaks out between the bodyguards, but Aldo and Dante win. After this scary event, Kristen gets a chance to freshen up while Dante and Aldo take care of getting rid of the dead bodies. Lorenzo and Bianca show up shortly after. As a serious warning, they send Carlo's cut-off hand back to the Romano family. This message reaches Carlo's cousin, Mammon, who now becomes the new Don Romano. Now that Mammon is the new Don Romano, he tells a hitman named Bruno to get rid of the new Donna Balbano. Meanwhile, there's a lot of tension at the Balbano family's house. Fabrizio and Bianca argue about the growing conflict with the Romanos. Fabrizio gets really angry and frustrated because he thinks Kristen doesn't understand how the mafia works. Kristen doesn't know about the illegal things the Balbano family does, but she finds out about their involvement in illegal businesses, and she asks why they don't have any legal businesses besides the winery that makes bad wine. When Kristen says this, Fabrizio gets really mad and storms out of the room, leaving Kristen to deal with the shocking truths she just learned. Feeling the weight of her new responsibilities, Kristen decides it's time to visit Lorenzo. She goes to Lorenzo's house with her two bodyguards, who pretend to be her cousins, making it seem like a family visit. Lorenzo is very excited, and even his aunt Esmeralda joins in on the family gathering. In this cozy atmosphere, Lorenzo proudly shows off his new pasta line, and they all enjoy it together during a nice dinner. As the evening goes on, Kristen and Lorenzo feel a stronger connection, hinting that they might share a kiss. But their intimate moment is suddenly interrupted by an alarm on Kristen's phone, reminding her of an upcoming online meeting. Kristen quickly leaves and goes home with her watchful bodyguards. When they get back, Aldo tells Kristen some worrying news. His mother is in trouble because she's run out of medicine, and they don't have the money to buy more. Kristen tells her two loyal protectors to take care of Aldo's mother for now, instead of guarding her. But Kristen doesn't know that there's a dangerous person in the Balbano house, which is Bruno. He's hiding and ready to do something bad. He has a quiet gun and a laser guide, and he sneaks up behind Kristen. While Kristen starts her online meeting, her boss and coworkers mute her presentation, showing they don't care about her ideas. They don't know how much danger Kristen is in, as Bruno starts his deadly attack. Instead of just shooting Kristen and leaving, Bruno has a more sinister plan. He pulls Kristen towards the couch, wanting to hurt her, but Kristen acts quickly and uses the self-defense moves she learned in her class. She grabs her high heels and bravely fights back, eventually delivering a deadly blow to Bruno, who can't defend himself. After this scary incident, Kristen goes back to her Zoom meeting. But she's shaken, and her coworkers think she's drunk by mistake. So her boss decides to fire her. Kristen doesn't give up, though. She regains her confidence and decides to go back to Lorenzo's place, finally taking a chance on being close to someone after 3 long years. The next day, Dante and Aldo find Kristen and safely take her back home. They praise her for how well she defended herself the previous night. Bianca gives her some information about the upcoming meeting with the Romanos. Kristen faces Mammon and his group, and they are really impressed with how she got rid of their old leader and their top hitman. The Romanos agree to accept the Balbano family's first offer about the territory, and both families decide to stop fighting. Kristen earns the respect of the men at the meeting. Later, Kristen is in the peaceful Balbano garden by herself when Fabrizio comes over. He openly praises her bravery, saying it's because she's part of the Balbano family. As a sign of acceptance, Fabrizio gives her one of the family's rings, officially welcoming Kristen into their group. After the unexpected meeting with Fabrizio, Bianca talks to Kristen. She sees that Kristen is a kind person and is unsure about making her the Donna Balbano. But she shares a personal story with Kristen about her grandfather's generosity. He gave her a high-tech prosthetic leg when she was young to protect her from bullies. After hearing this story, Kristen believes in her potential to be a different kind of mafia donna. She gets inspired by the conversation and decides to start a new business. She wants to smuggle and distribute American medicines to help families who don't have much. While she's doing this, she also works on making Balbano's winery better. She wants to balance both of these projects and bring a unique mix of caring and innovation to her role as Donna Balbano. Kristen starts to really enjoy her life as a Donna in Italy, and she finds happiness in her work. Her relationship with Lorenzo gets stronger, and they seem to be in love. One day, as they're walking by a beautiful canal, Lorenzo hints that Kristen is still keeping secrets, even though they've been together for a while. He wants to visit her home, but Kristen is hesitant because she doesn't want to reveal her family's mafia connections. Suddenly, Aldo and Dante step in to stop a man who seems like he's causing trouble. It turns out to be Paul, Kristen's ex-husband, who came looking for her and surprised her with his unexpected visit. When Lorenzo finds out that Kristen is technically still married, he gets upset and leaves in disappointment. Aldo and Dante take Paul back to the Balbano house. Kristen goes back home to confront Paul in front of the other Balbano family members. It becomes clear that Paul came to Kristen because he ran out of money. At first, Kristen is gentle with him, but the people around her encourage her to be firm and stop taking care of this disrespectful man. Finally, she tells Paul to go back to the airport and find his way home on his own. With the success of her medicine smuggling and winery, Kristen talks to Bianca about wanting to leave the mafia life and have a normal future with Lorenzo. Bianca understands her decision, but she hopes it's because Kristen truly wants it and not just to please another man. Feeling confident in her choice, Kristen plans to announce her retirement at a meeting with the mafia families. Kristen and Fabrizio team up with the Romanos and others for the meeting, which turns out to be her last one. The Romanos are worried about Kristen's control over port inspectors in her pharmaceutical business, and they want a share of her operations. But Kristen surprises everyone by resigning and making Bianca her successor. This unexpected move upsets Fabrizio, who thought he would become the new Don Balbano. The Romanos start to doubt Kristen's actions, and things get tense. Suddenly, undercover police officers, including Lorenzo and Esmeralda, storm into the meeting. There's a big shootout, and Lorenzo hides with Kristen. Kristen is in shock, thinking that her relationship with Lorenzo was fake all along. Lorenzo doesn't deny it, which makes Kristen feel even worse. The shootout finally ends with the police winning. Kristen is very hurt by Lorenzo's confession, and she tries to leave quickly, but he stops her. Later on, Kristen is at her trial, and she has a lawyer appointed by the state who doesn't seem very experienced. But to her surprise, Jenny shows up to support her best friend and help with the case. Kristen is accused of being involved with the mafia, but her good reputation for being kind and doing good things for the community convinces the judge to drop the charges against her. Everyone celebrates her victory. Outside the courtroom, Lorenzo talks to Kristen. He admits that he actually developed real feelings for her while they were pretending to be in a relationship. But Kristen, who is no longer the naive romantic she used to be, says goodbye to Lorenzo and walks away, leaving their connection behind. When Kristen gets home, she's really upset because she finds Dante injured from a gunshot. A message from Bianca says that she's been shot too, so Kristen rushes to the winery to help her. Dante gives her a gun, just in case. Kristen quickly goes to the winery, and she sees that Fabrizio has taken Paul and Dominic as hostages, which is a very tense situation. Fabrizio confesses that he killed Bianca because he wanted to become Don Balbano so badly. He's holding a gun and threatens Kristen's son. Kristen doesn't waste a moment and fights back, managing to hurt Fabrizio badly and stop him for a short while. But then Bianca shows up, shocking everyone. She's alive. Fabrizio had shot her fake leg to try to get away. Even though Fabrizio shoots at them and runs away, he leaves Bianca with an important job, which is making sure her son Dominic is safe. Kristen is determined and won't give up. She starts looking everywhere for Fabrizio and eventually finds him on a platform above the winery machinery. Fabrizio threatens Kristen with a gun, so she acts quickly. She turns a valve, and scalding steam comes out, making Fabrizio move towards her. But then, a rusty railing breaks, and Fabrizio is about to fall into a grate grinder. Kristen reaches out her hand to help him, but after thinking for a moment, she decides to let Fabrizio fall to his death. At first, Kristen is scared and panicky, but she eventually calms down and leaves. She decides to stay in Italy and take charge of the family business at the mansion. Meanwhile, Mammon and his group are in jail, and Kristen sends them a package with a note and a wine bottle that has Fabrizio's cut-off finger. As Dominic and Paul get ready to go back to America, they see lots of people coming to pay their respects to Kristen by kissing her ring. Even though Kristen has a powerful position now, she still remains a loving and caring mother. She even makes a special trail mix for her son's journey back home. The ending shows how Kristen can balance her roles as a mafia donna and a devoted mother really well. So the moral of the story is when life gives you lemons, switch your drinks with a mafia boss, and you might just become a powerful mafia donna with a killer winery.